New to Florida? Get ready to get lawyered up now and dive deep into the legal realm of Tampa personal injury law. I'm Tampa Attorney Martin Hernandez, and I'm the fearless advocate for fighting for justice in the Sunshine State, and we're here to uncover the truth, debunk the myths, and deliver the legal insights you need. From car accidents to slip and falls, we've got you covered, so buckle up and hold on tight, because we're about to take you on a wild ride with What the Florida, and when it comes to personal injury law. With us today is Itamar Martinez with La Liga Legal, Tampa's actually only trilingual lawyer referral service, speaking English, Spanish, and Portuguese.
That's it. Thank you for having me, Mark.
Well, no, thank you for coming and being my guest. Itamar, tell me a little bit about yourself. You weren't born here. English was not your first language. Right. Where were you born?
I was born in Cuba, and I was 9 years old. My mom is, my grandparents on my mom's side, they're from Portugal.
Okay.
So they moved to Cuba when they were young. And then my mom was born in Cuba, so I was born in Cuba. And when I was 9 years old, we moved to Portugal. I'm sure many people remember the Mariel boat lift.
Right.
My grandparents, the Portuguese ones, they actually came to the U.S. in 1980 through the Mariel boat lift. And we were supposed to get out of Cuba a week later, and they closed the exit. So the only way that we could get out and be reunited with my grandparents, they were already in their 60s at that time, was to go to Portugal. So that's what we did in 1982. My grandparents were here for actually, they were able to meet with us in 1983.
Oh, wow.
In Portugal.
In Portugal.
So 1982, I was 9 years old. We moved to Portugal, and I was in Portugal till 1989. And then
you didn't speak Portuguese.
Didn't speak Portuguese at all.
You spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
You get to Portugal, had to learn a second language.
Had to learn a second language. Went to school. I was 9, so I had to repeat third grade, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. This is back in Portugal. And back in those days, now it's different, but back in those days, sixth grade was the highest that was mandatory to go to.
Oh, jeez.
So I was 12, 13 years old. Now what? I just finished school.
Times are different because nowadays you won't let a sixth grader go down the street without a cell phone and a GPS tracker.
That's it.
And you're asking a sixth grader in Portugal whether or not he wants to continue with school or hang out with his buddies at home or work.
Yeah. For me, my mom was like, look, you can go to school, but we live in a little town, so it was about half hour away. I didn't have a car. I was 12, 13 years old. Right. I had a bicycle. So it's either that or go to work. And I said, you know what? I'd rather go to work. So I started working with my uncle that worked at a dairy farm. And I worked with him for about a year.
Wait, what'd you do on the farm? Whatever he told you.
Whatever it was to do. Milk cows. Took the cows out to the fields so took him in the morning and brought him back in the afternoon. I learned how to drive at around 13, so I will drive their tractor trailers and go to the fields and pick up food for the cows and bring them back. And I did that for a year.
Okay.
Then the cousin of the owner of the dairy farm, he was an electrician. And actually, my mom got me a job for about 6 months with an electrical company in the town that I lived in. Electricity, plumbing, and a little bit of construction. And the owner had a little bit of everything.
Man.
So I was 14, and the owner of the dairy farm, I used to go visit my uncle. His cousin had an electrical company, and his name was Lionel. I was like, hey, would you like to come and work with me? And it's like, yeah. So I did that from 14, 15, 16. I was almost 17 when I came to the U.S. Wow. So I worked 3 years with him, construction, plumbing, and electricity, but mainly electricity. So it got to the point that on the weekends, I was working with him. By the way, back then, the work week was 48 hours.
Okay.
So 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Jeez.
And on the weekends, I had side jobs. So I would work with him during the week, and then on the weekend I'll do my stuff. Actually, I started making more money part-time than working as an electrician for him.
Wow.
And that's what I did, yeah. First, 5-6 years of my working life.
And then you came here at 17.
Came here almost 17.
Almost 17 years old. Did not speak English.
Did not speak English.
And you came in, and where'd you go?
So moved to Miami.
Of course.
That's where my father's family was living since 1960 when they left Cuba. And so they were the ones that were able to sponsor us and bring us in. And the whole family came, my uncles. It was about, I believe it was like 13 of us in Portugal.
Okay.
That had left Cuba and moved to Portugal. So 17, almost 17, I'm like, okay, what are kids doing here at 17? Everybody's going to school.
Right.
So I guess I'm going to go to school too.
So you hadn't been in school in about 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
And come to the United States, and you're like, okay, first off, you didn't speak the language.
Yep.
No offense.
Yep.
And then you're like, I got to go to school.
Yeah, I got to go to school. Okay, I'll go to school. This sounds like fun.
Yeah. So what happened when you got here?
So
you hadn't been in school in several years, so you're supposed to be in high school, a junior or maybe a senior.
Yep. So there's a little story because of bureaucracy there.
Okay.
With Portugal.
Okay.
And the paperwork from the schools that was missing from 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I get to Miami and I didn't have proof of anything, and I took some courses on the summer, whatever. So they did a test and actually bumped into 9th grade.
Oh, okay. So you skipped 7th and 8th grade.
Pretty much. It's I don't know if it matters these days anymore, but
no.
So yeah, I skipped and I went from 6th to 9th grade, and I started the ESOL class. Now, one thing that helped me a lot was in Portugal, I love watching American movies.
All right.
So the translation was in Portuguese. The letters, the caption.
Right.
So I will listen to the English,
right,
and I will read in Portuguese. So interesting. When I got here, I didn't even realize that it helped me a lot.
Yeah, you had the ear.
I had the ear. So they put me my first. Actually, I started school like in December of '89. And then by May or June, when that school year ended, the following years, I was already put into regular English classes.
Oh, wow.
Because they realized, oh, no, you understand 95% of everything. Believe it or not, my writing was pretty good, actually.
That I can believe.
So it helped me a lot. So they put me in 10th grade. I started regular English classes. And so I went 9th and 10th and half of 11th grade in Miami. And then I moved to Tampa, and I went to graduated in high school here in Jefferson High School. My last year was Jefferson.
Your last year was at Jefferson High School, New Jefferson.
New Jefferson, yeah. The New Jefferson, yeah.
And then from there, you graduated high school, and where did you go?
Got married. Actually, famous with marriage.
Well, we're not going to talk about how famous you are with your marriage.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, I actually graduated. I got married March of when I was 20 years old. My birthday is March 3rd. I got married March 27th. Okay. But I was still going to high school, so I actually went to my graduation with my first wife.
Okay. Did you go to prom with her?
No. Actually, I didn't even go to prom because when I moved to Tampa, I didn't know anybody.
All right.
And we moved to Tampa because that's where my grandparents lived and my uncles and everybody that came from Portugal. We were the only ones, my mom, my dad, and myself, the only ones in Miami. So moved to Tampa and graduated from high school, was already married. I wasn't into the studying. I mean, I had straight A's, really good, GPA was good, 3.8, I think. So I did good, but I didn't like for me, the future of schooling wasn't it. I didn't want her to go to school and spend many years in school. And I already had felt the freedom per se of having my own business because that's what I did on the weekends.
Right.
But at that point, I was married, needed to do something. So I started working at the Mercedes-Benz dealership in Tampa.
Okay.
Parking cars. By the way, all this through high school, I have part-time jobs. Get out of school, 3:30, whatever, 2:30, and go to work. I did in Miami. I work at a factory recharging batteries to send to Brazil.
Okay.
Then I moved to Tampa, and through high school, I worked at it's called Tampa Tube Containers, a company it was a factory that made tubes. And I did that, and then a friend of mine says, hey, they're looking for a porter at Mercedes-Benz, I remember I was making $5.50 an hour. They're like, oh, it's making $6.25 an hour. Like, that's 75 cents more. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And probably, less work. Come to find out it was more work, but my job was when people took their cars to get repaired, I would park them and bring them back and wash them and all that stuff.
Right.
A month later, the office manager, the service manager says, Ita, got employee of the month. The first month, I was a hard worker. I still are.
I was going to say, I've never known you to not be a hard worker.
He's like, you know what? I see your desire. I see your hustle. How about if you put you in the shop as a mechanic, as a trainee? Say, well, I don't know anything about fixing cars. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll pay for your schooling and all that. So long story short, I was there for 8 years. Got trained,
Quickly worked your way up.
Became a Mercedes-Benz technician. I've had rough years as far as work already from age 12, 13, and I was already 27, 28, working in construction, working in the fields, lifting heavy weights, bending over, lifting engines out of cars. My back started hurting. As a matter of fact, today, as we speak, I just got back from a trip. We were talking about this. Right. My back's killing me. Yeah, I've always had low back problems because of the rough, job that I did.
And working with your body,
it gets to
labor, it gets to you. It beats you up.
Yeah, it beats you up. So it got to the point where my back was hurting, my shoulders were hurting, and I'm like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And then I started looking around at working at a Mercedes-Benz dealership. By this time, I already had 2 kids. And I started looking around. I said, these people that drive Mercedes, that are wealthy, the ones that actually can afford to have the Mercedes.
Right.
What do they do? And I realized, well, they either inherit money. None of my family was rich. Doctors, attorneys, CEOs of companies or so. I don't want to go to school for 8, 10, 12 years to become an attorney, to become a doctor. But then I realized, well, the majority of them, they have their own business. They're entrepreneurs. I already had the feel of what it was to work for myself, the work ethic and all that. So what do I like to do? I like numbers, and I like people.
Right.
So I look into finances. I found the stock market very interesting. And so that's what I did. I got, started studying, self-study, got my insurance, investment license, mortgage broker's license, all that in about 6 months. I didn't have a life. My life was full-time working, taking care of the family, the wife and the kids, and then studying on the weekends and nights. My friends will come over to the house. Hey, let's go here, let's go there. No, I have a goal. My goal is I want to leave my job in a year. And I remember I signed up to get my, in 1999, March 3rd, 1999, on my birthday, I signed up to get my life insurance license and go through class and do the 40-hour class and all that. And I said, in a year, I'm done. I'm leaving Mercedes. And that's what I did. I talked to as a matter of fact, the general manager, the service manager, his name is Randy Powell. Till this day, I still thank him. We're still friends on Facebook. He's now in Atlanta, but I owe him a lot because I went to him when I first started. I said, hey, Randy, you gave me an opportunity to get here, start here. I have server classes coming up that you're going to send me to Jacksonville to study. Just want to let you know this is not my future. I mean, I appreciate been here for 6, 7, 8 years now. But I don't want to waste the company's money. You sending me up there when I already have another goal in mind. Then we started talking, and long story short, he's like, look, I know where you're at because I loved finances because I was getting into finances. I love finances, but then I got married, had kids, so I got into this car business. So you know what? I'll support you. I'm still going to send you to school. I'm still going to pay for that schooling. because if at least it's knowledge that you're going to gain.
Right.
And the day that comes that you say you're ready to leave, hey.
Well, he was looking out for you.
He was looking out for me.
Because that sounds like he was giving you a backup plan.
Yeah, yeah. And I, certain things that happens to you in life, you appreciate and you learn from the good feeling of how that feels. So even today, when situations come up that I see that I can help someone, even, we all have, we are our own competition. Right. We don't have any competition. No. It's ourselves. It's who I look at myself in the mirror every morning. And I think, you know what, if someone I can help, even if it's my competition, and I have people that have come to me, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Yeah, sure. You're a great example of that. You continue to help me in my business. Right. And you look at stuff like that and you're like, okay, someone helped me along the way. Now, if I'm in a position where I can help others, regardless of what they,
It happens all the time. I don't know how many times in the last 15 years that I've known you, I've called you to see if you have a lawyer in your network that I don't have a lawyer referral, especially someone that speaks, Spanish, and I need a family law lawyer that speaks Spanish. I have called you many times. I need landlord-tenant contracts, immigration. Yeah. I think you have several other attorneys in your arsenal. And I call you, and I'm like, hey, Ita. Yeah. Help me out. What do I need to do? Who do you know that can do this type of law? Because I need a Spanish-speaking attorney that can help these people out. Yeah. And I have referred many people to your lawyer referral service. You have. La Liga Legal. Yeah. Let me ask you, so from there, you eventually got into being a lawyer referral source.
So I did the finances for 1999. I got started until 2009.
Well, they were there. I had a feeling it was going to be 2008 or 2009 that everything fall apart.
It hit the fan.
Yep.
It hit the fan, and I had at one point 26 agents in my agency. We all needed to find a job. We all needed to find because the stock market went down tremendously, and there was no jobs. Economy was upside down. Houses upside down. No mortgage refinance. I mean. Unemployment high. So it got to that point where, we were all trying to find a way to eat and pay our regular bills. We didn't have enough money to invest or buy insurance or whatever. So at that point too, one thing that happened was it was 10 years of me doing that. And I realized that, a lot of in the financial business, a lot of times you meet a husband and wife to do their financial planning. Husband and wives, they'll work during the day. That's your best client. Right. So you meet with them nights and weekends. I got tired of not having nights and weekends. I was out of the house 4 or 5 times a week, nights a week, on the weekends, meeting clients. So I say, you know what, since things are not at this point going well with the financial services business, what can I do to get out of it? And instead of me having to make 100 calls a day, to try to set up 1 or 2 appointments, that's how bad things were. Maybe let me create something where I can have people call me. And instead of me having to call them and research. So I met an attorney here in Tampa that got me into the legal field and kind of showed me, look, this is the car accident business, this is how it works. I actually got a job for 4 months doing marketing for a clinic.
Okay. An injury clinic.
An injury clinic.
Right.
And I started seeing, the legal side of the business, how uninformed many people, including myself,
especially in the, no offense, uneducated Latino community.
Absolutely.
That they're immigrants.
Absolutely.
They don't understand the legal system here.
Absolutely.
And Florida is different from other states. I can tell you from experience. Florida is different. Is one of 12 states that has what we have. Yep. So every state's a little bit different. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So I left my job. I stopped my business in the finances, and I started doing the marketing for an injury clinic. And again, I've been here in Tampa since '92. Right. So I knew a lot of people, and people started calling me. Hey, I know now that you're working with attorneys, I need an attorney for an immigration case. I need an attorney for a family law. I need an attorney for wills, whatever, criminal, DUIs, whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just working on injury. I don't know anything else about that. So I started digging into what do I need to do to legally be able to refer clients or people, friends, my friends that call me to attorneys that can help them. So over the years, and now this is back in 2010 when I started. We're in 2023, so it's been 13 years already.
Right.
Over the years, as the need has arisen, I've looked into, okay, what is it? I got a new case, lemon law case, that I have never had a client for that. I need to find me an attorney. And by the way, it's a Hispanic attorney, because most of the time, one of the challenges that I've seen, including myself, when I got into this business, in our countries, everything works different than here.
Oh, yeah.
So for most Americans that are here, oh, yeah, I saw it in the business of finances, a mutual fund, a 401k, a IRA. Oh, yeah, people know that here. For us that come from another country, what is PIP? What is auto insurance? What kind of coverage do I need? Right. Oh, yeah, I'm full covered. I have full coverage, because they hear this word constantly. But what is actually full coverage?
Bare bones minimum to get a driver's license. That's what it is.
That's it. And so I realized how uneducated. It's not that we Latinos are dumb.
No, it's not.
We're talking about doctors. We're talking about, in our countries, doctors, even attorneys, professors,
engineers,
people super educated. Yeah. But when they get into a car accident, or they get into some legal issues, they're like, oh, I thought I had this. I thought I had that. I guess it's the same thing with any one of us in any field. I mean, something simple that we don't know.
And the word ignorance has a negative connotation in the English language, but not necessarily in the Latino in Spanish.
No.
It's truly ignorance. We're just not exposed to that.
We're not exposed to that.
So to say you're ignorant, and that is not necessarily a negative thing. It just means you've never been exposed to it.
Yeah.
So they come to this country, they are ignorant, but it sounds bad, but they're not exposed to it, so they don't understand it. They don't get it. So that's why I guess they call you.
Yep. That's why. So over the years, that's what's happened. Because I understand us, because I understand
having lived in 3 different countries before 17 years old.
Yeah. So I understand the need for, and it's more, even when I was doing finances and now in the legal field, I've noticed this. You have to be very patient with a Latino, with a Hispanic, because it's not, you have to explain everything to them because it's all new to us.
Right.
So it's not the same thing. Oh, here's a mutual fund. Sign here. We're going to put you into XYZ mutual fund. For Latinos, like, what is a mutual fund?
Right.
What is a stock? What is the stock market? Let's start with that. Right. So it has to do a lot with trust also. In our countries, the government, the system robs everybody. So we come here and we think everybody's out for us, out to get us.
Right.
And no, I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to trust you.
I don't know you. I'm not going to trust you.
You know what? Let me ask my uncle, my neighbor, my cousin for that legal advice that I need, or
which is usually one of the biggest things. And we're going to get to that. But before we go there, you started La Liga Legal, as well as Bay Area Legal.
No. So
La Liga Legal,
La Liga Latina Legal.
That is a lawyer referral service.
Lawyer referral. Now it's called about a year and a half ago, Florida Bar changed it to a qualified provider.
Okay, qualified provider. But now you said the Florida Bar. Is that who you're regulated by?
Yes.
All so right. You have to jump through some hoops and be qualified.
Absolutely. So a good friend of mine, she's been a blessing in my life. Julia, you probably know Julia Palacios.
Oh, yes.
And Julia, I know you're not expecting, if you're listening to this, to hear your name. But I was having lunch with a group of friends, and we get out of the restaurant. This is 2011. We get out of the restaurant having lunch, and we walk out. She's about to get in her car, and I'm about to get in mine, and she has a flat tire. And she's like, oh, my God, I got a flat tire. She had a Blazer. And I'm like, you know what? Let me help you out. I'll stay with you. Oh, we couldn't find she had no spare. Yeah. So she had to call AAA. We're there for about an hour and a half waiting for them to come. So we start talking. And Julia's like, Ita, why don't you start what you're doing? Because we're talking about, I was doing marketing and getting these calls from different people. Why don't you start a lawyer referral service? I said, what is that? I never heard of that. He goes, hold on. She gives me the number. She gives me the Florida bar number, the contact person. Call this person, set it up. Come on, you got to do it. A couple days later, she's like, did you do it already? I'm like, okay, no, I haven't, but let me get to it. So long story short, she gave me the push and all the information on how to get my, create a company and register with the Florida bar. So I went through those hoops, submitting all the paperwork to the Florida bar. I started then meeting with attorneys that that I've been working with, that I wanted to add to the group, explaining to them the whole process of being part of the, lawyer referral service at that point, and registering and all that, and all the reports that the Florida bar require. That's and all that stuff.
Because a lawyer can get in trouble for accepting client or referrals from a non-approved lawyer referral service.
100%. So just a non-lawyer referral service cannot advertise as a lawyer referral service, or these days, like as I said, as a qualified provider, because you get in trouble. Right. If someone says, oh yeah, I saw XYZ, saying, hey, call me if you need a lawyer, and that's your main business, someone reports you to the Florida bar, you're in trouble.
You're going to get in trouble.
For me, it was more like, I just want to put my head on the pillow at night, relax and sleep well, and do it the right way, even if I have to go through all these loops. And that's what I did. I submitted all the paperwork to the Florida bar. La Liga Latina Legal became back in those days, lawyer referral service, now called a qualified provider. And I've been registered with them now for over 10 years.
And you have how many lawyers in your network?
17.
17
that do everything from A to Z. All Latino lawyers. 99% of my clients are the ones that call me. And in any given month, I get anywhere from 100 to 150 calls. And they're all Latinos. Hey, I need a lawyer for this, then that, and that, and X, Y, Z. So eventually everything started evolving too, because when I got into the lawyer referral service, also obviously people call for personal injury.
Right.
So I started looking into the personal injury side, started networking with different doctors in different areas, because not a lawyer can handle, you can handle a case as you have. We work together on different cases,
many cases together
over the
last 15 years.
Yeah, all over the state of Florida.
Right.
So if someone from Tallahassee or Miami calls you, hey, I got into a car accident, you can help them.
Right.
And now the difference is in the medical side, that person is injured, they need to go to a doctor. They're not going to come from Miami to Tampa to treat. No. So over the the last 15 years or so, 13 years, I've looked for doctors in different areas too. So I have doctors that I work with in Kissimmee, Lakeland, Plant City, all the way down to Sebring, Sarasota, Bradenton, Clearwater, Wesley Chapel, Spring Hill. So over the years, I found those key doctors that I'm working with.
Right.
So if it's a car accident, slip and fall, any type of personal injury, be able to send them to them so they can do the proper treatment that those patients need.
Right. Okay. Well, let me ask you a couple things. Earlier you said that the clients, Latinos in general, they make a lot of common mistakes. Tell me, in your opinion, you wrote down 5 common mistakes that the Latinos make.
Yep.
Number 1 you said was ask their family member for advice. I would actually take it a step farther and say most people in general nowadays, Americans too, they Google their questions. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, I have a law degree. It took me 3 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. Yep. I still don't know everything, and you're giving me wrong information. Yep. So what are the Latinos doing with that?
And the biggest problem is with that, because I see it sometimes when one client calls me, I meet with them at the attorney's office. We met, hey, this is a client that needs some help because they got into a car accident. And then you start explaining to them, well, this is the way it works. And then here's the problem. They jump and they're like, oh, no, but that's not how it works.
Right.
No. Yeah. It works this way and this way. all because they their cousin or their neighbor had a car accident in the past, and they know everything about the whole process.
Right.
Same thing with any other issue. So and again, I believe deep inside comes down to the trust issue.
Right.
That we come to this country, and because we don't trust the government, the system, it's more of a, I don't trust the system. Let me go to someone that can help me.
Right.
That I'm going to trust because he speaks my language, and he's my cousin, and he's not going to lie to me.
All right. And he tells me what I want to hear.
And he tells me what I want to hear, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I was going to say. And they don't trust their attorney. And actually, in Latin America, I would say, South America, attorneys ripping off their clients happens frequently.
Yep. Yeah.
So they come here not necessarily trusting their attorney.
Yeah.
And another problem that way I see is rampant fraud.
Yeah.
What about that?
Especially in the Hispanic community. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it, hope not to offend anyone. I'm Cuban.
Yeah.
I was born in Cuba.
And
unfortunately, the system that the government in Cuba has created, it's a system full of fraud. The only way, in other words, the only way to survive in Cuba is by committing fraud.
Right.
Is by robbing the government. Is the only way to survive.
Or robbing other people.
Or robbing other people.
But not necessarily robbing, but not with force, but stealing.
And in Cuba, the money and the food that you get from working and the government allows you to buy, it's enough for about 6 or 7 days worth of eating. How do you survive the other 23 weeks of the month?
Right.
So there's the black market. I know people that spend 800 pesos, Cuban pesos. This is when the other system that they had in pesos, 800 pesos in transportation a month to make 250 pesos as a salary. And he's like, that makes no sense. But they were able to steal from their jobs, from the government, because, by the way, there's no privatization over there. So they were able to steal whatever they could to sell it on the black market. So they were making 3,000-4,000 pesos on the black market. So for them, a job in Cuba, it's more of a, not how much you're going to pay me, it's what can I get out of it.
Right.
So that's the job interview. Well, I don't care how much. As a matter of fact, I come and work for you for free.
Right.
But let me try to figure out what can I rob? What can I steal?
What can I steal from you to sell on the black market to survive?
20, 30, 40 years of that.
60 years of that.
60 years of that. And you have a 40-year-old, 35, 40-year-old that comes from Cuba living in that system, gets to the U.S. and is like, okay, that's where the credit card fraud, that's where Medicare fraud, and the personal injury business, that's where the Clínicas business fraud also happens, where you see a lot of that going on, where, clinics, it's illegal to pay a patient to come in and treat.
Right, because if I go to my cardiologist doesn't give me $500 for showing up.
Absolutely.
So these clinics are paying these people to show up.
Yep.
So clearly that's fraud.
That's fraud. And worse, even worse. And it's not happening as much because the state of Florida is cracking it down.
Yeah,
but stage accidents.
Yeah.
Get 4 or 5 people in a car, hit a tree, hit another car.
Right.
And now everybody's, making money.
Yeah. And to be clear, you don't do business with any of these
No.
clinics. But we do. And I'll tell you, I'm in the industry. We know which clinics to avoid.
Yep. The doctors that I work with, they're all doctors.
Right.
All of them.
I was going to say,
they're doctor owned. Normally, those clinics that do that, it's privately owned.
Right. They're not doctor owned clinics.
Not doctor owned clinics. So they have nothing to lose.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in the personal injury business in the Hispanic community, that I get calls from time to time. Hey, I just got into an accident. How much, is there any regalito? Is there any gift from one of your doctors? I'm like, nope. I didn't hear that. I go somewhere else, knocking on the wrong door.
And I've seen it in myself when the clients come in and, no, I want to go to this clinic. Why? Because they treat me right. well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. You live in Brandon, but you're going to drive all the way to Waters and Sheldon to go treat with a doctor. You drove by like 60 doctor's offices to get there.
Yep.
Why? And you're going to go 5 times a week? How much are they paying you?
Yep.
And I usually tell them at that point, I'm like, I can smell it out. I'm like, listen, I'm not interested. I thank you for your time. Either you go to a doctor I tell you to go to, or that I recommend to you. It's your choice to go wherever you want, but you either go to a facility that is legit, or you go find another lawyer.
Yeah. What I've told them too is I have 17 lawyers in my network. I have few that do criminal cases. Save my number because you may need it. And over the last 13 years, I've had 4 clients that have called me back. Hey, I got caught.
Right.
I need a criminal lawyer. So I warned you.
It's not worth a 3rd-degree felony and try to get, deported on. And another issue is that I try to see them try to settle the cases on their own with the adjusters, which is always comical to me, especially, Latino community. I see it's kind of funny because I'm like, first off, you don't speak the language.
Yep.
Another issue that I see is you don't know what your case is worth.
Yep.
You're biased because you're talking about yourself or your wife or your kid. So what you perceive the value to be is not necessarily, my case is worth $1 million. No, it's not.
Right.
Because you're alive and walking and let's be honest.
You got all legs and arms.
You got all your limbs. So probably not $1 million case. Yeah. Is that something very common that people try to do?
Very, very common. I have clients that call me, and usually, obviously, they go to you.
Well, I know I'm one of the, 3 lawyers in your network.
Yeah.
For auto accidents.
And so when they call me and they say, hey, you know what, I want to see a lawyer that they can help me with this. I'm like, what's going on? Well, I had an accident 5 months ago, and the insurance company gave me, a check for $5,000 because they told me, look, I will give you the money, and I needed the money immediately. So normally out of desperation, they take the money up front.
Right.
But you know what? My back still hurts. I got this. Now I got some medical bills because the hospital, I went to the hospital and now I have a $20,000 hospital bill. And, and how am I going to pay this? Like, okay, I'm going to send you to the lawyer. I'm not going to give you any legal advice.
Right.
I just want you to be aware that you already accepted the money that the insurance company gave you, meaning you already settled that case yourself instead of looking for the legal advice. So don't get upset if they tell you there's not a whole lot they can do.
Right. And doing it on your own. Doing it cheap comes out expensive.
Yep. 100% of the time.
And the last thing that you put down is you said that they're impatient and cause unnecessary stress to themselves, their attorneys, the doctors, everybody else.
Yep. We want everything done now.
Right.
And especially when it comes to money.
Right.
I want the money now. It's funny because I hear even my clients call me, hey, that attorney that you refer me to, you know what? It's Christmas and I need to buy gifts for my kids and I want to settle that case. I want them. Can you talk to that attorney and see if they can settle the case? I'm like, okay, before the accident, how were you going to take care of that Christmas gift for your family?
That's right. And you were, what would you have done without this case? It's not a lottery. I mean, when I tell clients all the time, if you do have $1 million case, you will not enjoy it. Because you are either dead or crippled or lost a limb. Yep. Your family will enjoy it, but not you.
Yep.
I think we're about wrapping it up. And I want to say, Itamar, one more time, what's your website?
Well, I have centrodayudahispano.com.
Okay.
Through Centro de Ayuda Hispano, under Centro de Ayuda Hispano, I have La Liga Latina Legal. That's the best, most memorable website. Colita.com. centrodayudahispano.com. So those are ways that they can contact me. The phone number, 844-LEGAL-11. In Spanish, 844-LEGAL-11.
And you're Tampa's only trilingual lawyer referral service that I'm aware of, and I think you too.
I don't know any Portuguese, Spanish, and American English speaking lawyer referral service.
The Portuguese is very important for the Brazilian community, which we actually have a pretty good-sized Brazilian community here. So again, if you're new to Florida, listen in, get lawyered up now with Tampa injury attorney Martin Hernandez. We're the fearless advocate fighting for your justice in the Sunshine State. We're here to uncover the truth, debunk the myths, deliver legal insights you need, and from auto accidents to slip and falls, we've got you covered. And so buckle up, hold on tight, because we're about to take you on a wild ride Get lawyered up now with Tampa injury attorney Martin Hernandez.